Hello, beta. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so in today's lecture, we are going to go ahead and we are going to talk about something which is called as intellectual property right. Okay, but before I go ahead and I do that, tell me something. Just think about it, huh? If I ask you, how will you go ahead and how will you feel if you go ahead and prepare one of your best ideas and someone else just steals it? How are you going to go ahead and feel in that case, right? Or you make some idea and someone else earns millions out of it without even giving the credit to you, right? Or do you know why very often we see that Apple and Samsung, they keep fighting in court? बहुत बारी आप देखोगे कि you keep getting this this famous courtroom battle of Apple versus Samsung, right? क्योंकि design patents involved होता है. Apple says ये मेरा design है, इसने copy किया Samsung ने, and Samsung says no, this is my design, Apple has copied, right? Or a lot of times you would have heard that what is Coca-Cola's secret formula? No one is able to go ahead and recreate what Coca-Cola has created, right? क्या है उसका वो secret trade secret, right? And kitni bari, if you go ahead and if you try uploading something on YouTube, you will notice that there is something which will say copyright issues, right? Suppose if I today want to upload a video on YouTube, first YouTube will go ahead and check whether there are any copyright issues or not. And if it does not match any of the videos already online, then it will allow me to put that video, isn't it? So basically, we notice that these problems are anywhere and everywhere around us. है ना? And then we see that the famous brands have protected themselves because of certain trademarks. Okay, जैसे for example, if I just go ahead and if I just show you this better, let me try creating that if I am able to. If I show you this, तो देखते you know what brand this is. What brand is this? You should be aware. If I show you this, देखते you will know what brand this is, right? So how do we know these brands so well? Because we have gone ahead and we have seen a particular brand tag associated to a particular brand, a particular element associated to a particular brand. Dekhte, I can tell you what is McDonald's, what is Nike, and so on and so forth, right? So basically, what happens is that we see in our daily life कि हर जगह पर, literally everywhere, there are patents, trademarks, copyrights, which are helping protect the brands, जो brands को protect करने में help कर रहे हैं. ठीक है. अब कितनी बारी हम देखते हैं कि जब मूवी लॉन्च होती है, तो उससे पहले सारे एक्टर एक्ट्रेस वो बोलते हैं प्लीज अवॉइड पायरेसी, वॉच द ओरिजिनल मूवी, राइट? दे आर ऑल्सो ट्राइंग टू गो एंड प्रोटेक्ट देयर मूवी फ्रॉम गेटिंग पायरेटेड, है ना? अच्छा, whenever we go ahead and whenever we look things like this, right, we understand that brands are going ahead and doing these. जो भी वो patent, अभी हम discuss करेंगे detail में कि what is patent, what is copyright. But whenever brands are protecting themselves, they are going ahead and they are protecting themselves to earn more profit. इफ आई हैव इन्वेस्टेड माई मनी, अगर मैंने अपना सारा पैसा लगाया है रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट करके एक पर्टिकुलर चीज बनाने में, चाहे वो कोका कोला का टेस्ट हो या कुछ और हो, then I have the right to go ahead and to ensure that I earn revenue out of it, right? I have the right to make sure that no one else earns revenue out of it, right? Acha, same happens with the startup founders, isn't it? I mean, if I start a startup, कुछ भी चीज पे वो स्टार्टअप हो, I have to make sure कि उस स्टार्टअप से जो भी पैसा है वो मैं कमाऊं. And that's the reason I want to go ahead and I want to buy a patent or a copyright on it, right? So, anyways, we want to go ahead and we want to talk about intellectual property rights, beta. But intellectual property right hai kya? I hope that is making some sense to you. इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट जिसके बारे में पूरा लेक्चर हमारा आज को होने वाला है, इट इज बेसिकली अबाउट गोइंग अहेड एंड प्रोटेक्टिंग योर ब्रांड. अब हाउ वी कैन गो अहेड एंड हाउ वी कैन प्रोटेक्ट द ब्रांड, उसके बारे में हम डिटेल में वी विल गो अहेड एंड स्टडी व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट एक्ट्स पास्ड इन इंडिया, व्हाट इज द हिस्ट्री ज्योग्राफी ऑफ इट, वो सब पढ़ेंगे. बट आई होप यू गेट अ जिस्ट ऑफ इट. Acha, now before we go ahead and we proceed, I also want to show you some news related to it. And I will appreciate if you go ahead and write an answer based on it, right? So let's take some news. Let me just showcase Google here. Just give me a minute. Resharing the screen. Hmm. So look here. I have just said Apple versus Samsung court case. It's a very interesting court case. And अगर आप किसी भी law firm में हो या अगर आप किसी law school में हो, so it becomes necessary that they teach you this as one of the applications. Okay, it's a very famous application. That's why. So if you go ahead and if you read about it, let's look into it thoroughly through the eye of a law school. It says the Apple patent fight between Apple and Samsung. And then this continuously, tells कि exactly क्या हुआ था और attorneys ने क्या क्या बोला था, right? And basically, this entire thing is related to, the way that the mobiles have been created. कि किसने किसका यूजर इंटरफेस कॉपी किया है, किसने किसके चिप्स कॉपी किए हैं, किसने किसका इलेक्ट्रॉनिक जो भी वट एवर द टेक्नोलॉजी दे आर यूजिंग कॉपी किया है. सो इट इज बेसिकली ऑल अबाउट दैट. सो इफ यू गो अहेड एंड इफ यू रीड थ्रू, it talks about which phone had the patent and which person copied whom, right? And now let me just come back to the news. So see, Apple and Samsung end 7-year long iPhone patent battle, etc., etc. So I would like you to go ahead and read through it and make an answer on it. Okay, कि what exactly happened in case of Apple and Samsung, and give some economics touch to it, right? Try to write the answer from the perspective of economics, from the perspective of international economics. Okay. Just similarly, if you go ahead and see famous IPR cases in India, right? So you will be able to see what are the most game-changing cases in India. It's a good way to understand the topic. Okay? So especially you will see many coming from the Bollywood sector. Bollywood side में भी बहुत cases होते हैं that this person copied my idea. ये movie तो पहले बनी हुई है. This is just a copy of the existing movie, and so on and so forth. So it will be a good homework for today to go ahead and read through these things and to understand this in detail. Okay? Defense of day mimics and IP matters in India. I'm leaving this you as a homework. ठीक है? म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री में ये बहुत कॉमनली होता है दैट दे गो अहेड एंड दे से कि ये तो ट्यून मेरी है, ये तो मैं जिससे कॉपीड है, एंड दे जस्ट गो अहेड एंड दे पुट अ कोर्ट केस ऑन द अदर पार्टी. Okay, let's go ahead and begin today's lecture then. So write down introduction. Okay, let me just help you understand how we are going to go ahead and how we are going to sequence the coming lectures. हम क्या क्या पढ़ने वाले हैं इस पूरी IPR की journey में. It's part of you can think it as part of international economics. And to go ahead and begin, we will first understand what is IPR. We'll understand the nature and characteristics of IPR. फिर हम उसके ऑब्जेक्टिव पढ़ेंगे कि वो क्यों करना जरूरी है. फिर हम देखेंगे इंडिया में कौन कौन से लॉ आए हैं रिलेटेड टू आईपीआर. देन वी विल गो अहेड एंड टॉक अबाउट द एडवांटेजेस ऑफ आईपीआर, द डिसएडवांटेज ऑफ आईपीआर. This is going to be one part. Then what we will do is we will look at some of the world policies related to IPR, जिसमें we will be talking about trims in particular, और हम और कुछ भी पढ़ेंगे. ठीक है, others we will also go ahead and study. So this is how the lectures would be placed. Okay, let's begin with the introduction. So write down, beta. Intellectual property rights refer to the legal rights granted to individuals or organization over the creation of their mind. बहुत सिंपल डेफिनेशन है बेटा. प्रॉपर्टी राइट क्या होता है? प्रॉपर्टी राइट इज वॉट एवर राइट ओवर वॉट यू ओन, है ना. सो इफ आई ओन अ लैंड, वो मेरी प्रॉपर्टी है, सो आई हैव प्रॉपर्टी राइट ओवर इट. इफ आई ओन अ हाउस, it's my property, I have property rights, right? Now we are saying intellectual property right. So intellectual property right means whatever is in my mind, whatever is my thought, whatever I am creating, whatever ideas I am creating, when I go ahead and when I get legal right for that, जब मुझे मेरे आइडियाज क्रिएट करने के लिए कुछ लीगल राइट्स ग्रांट किए जाते हैं, then that is called as intellectual property right. Right, so write down these creations can be inventions, literacy, artistic work, symbol, design, brand name, software, or any other product of human intellect. These creations can be anything created. It can be any invention you have made, right? Just for example, the basic example of invention can be what, beta? Suppose any small invention also. हाँ, जैसे अगर, आज तक we had to, use for getting the water out of the tap, we had to, open and close. If now I just have to put my hand and water will come out, if it becomes sensory in nature, that's also an invention, right? Any invention, any literary work, any artistic work, कोई भी सिंबल अगर आपने डिराइव किया, कोई भी डिजाइन अगर आपने बनाया है, कोई भी ब्रांड नेम, लाइक अर्था पॉइंट कैन बी माय आईपीआर, right? Any software, any product of human intellect, that can be your, intellectual. You can earn a right on it, legal right on it. ठीक है? So write down IPR protects intangible asset by giving the creator or owner exclusive rights to use, produce, sell, or license their work for a certain period. आईपीआर में हम क्या कर रहे हैं? आईपीआर में हम राइट्स दे रहे हैं कि आप उस गुड को आप ही यूज करोगे, आप ही प्रोड्यूस करोगे, आप ही सेल करोगे, आप ही लाइसेंस करोगे एक पर्टिकुलर पीरियड तक के लिए। अब वो पीरियड क्या होगा, व्हाट दैट पीरियड विल बी, इट विल डिपेंड ऑन डिफरेंट कंट्रीज, राइट? किस कंट्री में क्या पीरियड रहता है, दैट कैन डिफर। बट व्हाट वी आर जस्ट गोइंग अहेड एंड सेइंग in this case is that it is giving you protection over intangible asset, right? So because it is giving you protection, it means it is also preventing unauthorized use. आपके अलावा कोई भी उसको प्रोड्यूस करेगा, उस पे केस हो सकता है। आपके अलावा कोई भी उसको कॉपी करेगा, उस पे केस हो सकता है, राइट? Other than you, anyone using it, copying it, or exploiting it, there can be a case, legal case on them, right? So this protection prevents unauthorized use, copying, or exploitation by others, thereby encouraging innovation, creating creativity, and investment in R&D. इन्वेस्टमेंट इन R&D। तो इन वेरी सिंपल टर्म हम क्या बोल रहे हैं, जिस इंसान ने जो चीज बनाई है उसको उसका फायदा मिलना चाहिए, वो उसको बेनिफिट्स को एंजॉय कर पाए। जैसे जिस इंसान का घर होता है वो ही उस घर में रहता है, जिस इंसान की जमीन होती है वही उस जमीन पर कुछ कर सकता है, right? So any individual who has a place to, who has a house will live there. No other person can live there, na? Any person who has a land can use it for cultivation. I cannot go and use a land if I don't have the land. So just like physical property has property rights, जैसे physical property defined है that if this is my pen, this is my pen, you cannot use my pen, right? I have purchased it, I have paid for it. सेम इज द केस विद इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी, राइट? कि जिसका दिमाग लगा, जिसने अपने माइंड से वो इन्वेंट किया, जिसने R&D किया, इट शुड बिलोंग टू दैट पर्सन, राइट? सो आई होप इट इज एब्सोल्युटली क्लियर as to what is IPR. Now let's go ahead and let's talk about nature and characteristics of IPR. Nature and characteristics of IPR. The first one is intangible in nature. बेटा टैंजिबल जो टच कर सकते हो, इनटैंजिबल जो टच नहीं कर सकते हो। किसी ने कोई सॉफ्टवेयर बनाया है, कोई पोएम बनाई है, कोई मूवी बनाई है, कोई आइडिया लेके आया है, कुछ ब्रांड का नेम रखा है, these are all intangible assets. These intangible assets, non-physical assets, can be protected through IPR. So it protects the non-physical creations like software or invention. Second, beta exclusive legal rights. तो जिसने भी बनाया है, whatever whoever individual has created the product, right, created that idea, created that poem, उसकी उसके ऊपर monopoly है to use it, to produce it, to sell it, to do whatever they want, to license it, right? So it is giving them a monopoly to do whatever they want to do with that idea, right? So the creator or rights holder has a monopoly over use, production, sale, or licensing of the intellectual property. Of the intellectual property. Okay. Better third. Time bound protection. These patents generally, these rights generally are for a fixed duration. Man, suppose 20 साल के लिए दे दिया patent, 60 years के लिए दे दिया copyright, right? So they are for a particular period of time. And after expiry, एक बारी वो patent या copyright expire हो गया, then it becomes a public domain, right? Then it is available freely in the market. उसके बाद anyone can go ahead and use that. Okay. So rights are granted for fixed duration. Example, 20-year for patent and author's life plus 60-year for copyright. Just in some time, I will tell you what is the difference between patent and copyright also. We will discuss that. But abhi ke liye, we are just discussing, you know, that what the characteristics of IPR. तो तीसरा कैरेक्टरिस्टिक हो गया कि एक टाइम बाउंड प्रोटेक्शन है, एक लिमिटेड पीरियड के लिए आपको प्रोटेक्शन देती है. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट बेटा, टेरिटरी प्रिंसिपल. Territory principle says that IPR is only registered in that country where, IPR is only valid in that country where it is registered. So for example, let's say कि मैंने कुछ idea बनाया and I got myself registered in India. Then people outside India can use that idea, right? When I go ahead and I protect myself in different countries, right? तो उस particular territory में, उस particular jurisdiction में, I get protected, right? Is it making sense? So IPR is generally valid in that country. But there are some international treaties which can protect a particular thing against copying across countries. We will talk about that also. कि international treaty क्या होती है? We will go ahead and discuss that also. So for now, you can go ahead and say that IPR is generally valid only in the country or jurisdiction where it is registered, right? Unless protected by international treaty. Unless protected by international treaty. Okay. Okay, but a fifth point. Transferability. Transferability. Transferability goes ahead and says that because an IPR can be sold, your property, intellectual property right can be sold. Money, suppose, just take an example. I had an idea of making a movie. That idea was fab. So I got my idea with, licensed. Okay. Now I think that if I sell this idea to a good movie house, like say Yash Raj Films or somewhere else, Dharma Production, I will earn a lot of profit. So what I can do? I can sell that. I can transfer this to them against some fee, right? Because I can do that, therefore it is profitable for me to register my idea, because the moment I have this thing that I can transfer and make money, it becomes a business asset, right? IPR becomes a business asset. So, if you look at technology companies like IBM, they recommend their employees, they ask their employees to bring in ideas and get themselves registered on their name only. That's fine. But get themselves registered with IPR, get an IPR for it, right? So why do they encourage them? So that, later it can be a valuable business asset. So, so suppose there are some IPR on the name of the company, on the name of IBM. Now, when tomorrow IBM is making its balance sheet, that IPR will be acting as an asset on the balance sheet because it can be sold in the market, right? So transferability kya bolta hai? It says that you have the right to be, so whatever rights you have, it can be sold, right? It can be licensed, right? It can be franchised, assigned, or inherited, right? Making them valuable business asset. Making them valuable business assets. So now I want you to take out some time, give it a minute, and think about the recent, examples of IPR that you have seen in your daily life. Any example.